All right, so we haven't talked about GameStop's retro initiative in a while, which sounds like the next Avengers movie, the retro initiative. So, as you've known in the podcast, we've been critical of GameStop for sort of half-assing their retro initiative and not knowing how to check for fake games and not caring. And having the same game potentially be returned and reselling the same Chrono Trigger, for example, that wasn't a Chrono Trigger. So, which has happened, and your friends have had experience with it. I know people it's happened to, but it seems like there could be learning a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. So GameStop, it's come to our attention and a handful of other people's attention that GameStop appears to no longer be accepting trade-ins for
certain games.
Certain games. The rarest or among the more expensive and most likely to be bootlegged or duplicated titles for various systems. So when this retro initiative started at GameStop, Pat and I certainly talked about our concern of whether or not this was going to lead to a spike in people getting counterfeits, reproductions, games with chips from other games inside them.
And oh boy, did it.
Yeah, and it sure did. We saw that almost immediately. Despite GameStop telling us that they were going to have their top men.
All right, we have top men working on it. Top men.
Yeah, they're
what?
Yeah, they're best people. Checking these things. And yeah, I mean, it was a shit show. So very quickly we started to get not just, the old swaparoo chip trick, but we had people getting the actual fakes or things with reproduction labels.
Well, board swaps, things like that. Fake labels, yeah. Counterfeits.
Including like people very close to us, like no degrees of separation. Like my very good friend Lincoln got a very obviously repro labeled and screwed up DuckTales 2.
So my first clue when we first investigated this, when I went to the GameStop website, there's it used to be retro, you can find it easily. At least to me. It used to be like a selection. Now you have to go to more on the top drop down, and then you go to more, and then at the bottom of consoles it says retro classics, and then you click in there and then you can search. It's not front and center anymore. I mean, to me that's not a small thing. So they're probably like, okay, let's take it back a step. Let's pump the brakes halfway here. But then when you start searching for some of the games, and I hate to say it, almost all the games that we've covered as being fake on the podcast, not all of them, but most of them are no longer offered on the site.
Earthbound, DuckTales 2, Sculptor's Cut, Bubble Bobble 2, Wild Guns. I know it definitely covered the DuckTales 2, Bubble Bobble 2.
We've covered all those on the podcast, I believe. Being fake. Remember the blue Sculptor's Cut?
Yeah. That was a good one.
That was a great one.
That was great.
And there's a couple other I'm looking up right now that we've covered that I forgot about. Little Samson.
I meant to look that last night. I don't think they ever had Little Samson in there.
They didn't? Okay.
I don't think.
It's not on the site now either way.
Yeah. Either way, whenever you look up some of those games that I just mentioned now, the Earthbound, DuckTales 2, Sculptor's Cut, Bubble Bobble 2, Wild Guns, they're gone. You can't find a trade-in value for them anymore.
You can't find it for sale.
You can't find it for sale either, but you can't find a trade-in value for it anymore because you can actually, there is a link where you can search for the trade. That's what I was trying to do.
You can buy Earthbound still for $200 pre-owned, but you can't trade it in.
Then when you look at there's a Reddit that was discussing this, and some of these titles, now I couldn't actually verify this. I couldn't find a trade-in value for Bomberman Second Attack, but they pulled one up and the trade-in value has been dropped to 1 cent and the cash value has been dropped to 1 cent.
DuckTales 2, okay, you can still buy some of these, but you cannot trade them in. There's no more trade-in value.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for last night. I was just checking all the trade-in values.
But currently unavailable online. So
what they're obviously doing here is they're no longer taking chances. Instead of vetting out and checking these expensive these expensive titles, they're just not going to offer anything for them, so that there's no risk.
Well, they were only taking the expensive ones for $25 anyway, but that's still $25
Yeah.
loss, and plus counterfeits going out.
Yeah,
I can't. None of these are available. The expensive ones you can't. I mean, you can if you see the listing, they say they're unavailable online anyway. So they might have burned through what they had, or the rest of the remaining said we're not going to bother selling them. Maybe at the same time, I don't know.
Sure, it takes them forever to update their website. Their website's garbage.
Okay.
But the fact is, you cannot find trade-in values for those anymore.
For you, that means if I walk in with the DuckTales 2, they'll offer me a cent at most.
Yeah, we'd have to see. But as far as the internet, as far as their website is concerned, either there's no trade-in value for it, which I couldn't find last night, or as in the case of the Bomberman Second Attack, which I also could not find, Reddit showing that if you could find it, it was at 1 cent.
Sure. Let me see Clay Fighter, what comes up. Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut does not come up for sale. Like either trade-in or sale. So I did look up some that not for sale. You only can get 63 1/3 on there. So some are gone from the site. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's definitely interesting. So we're seeing a change, and maybe this has been a 2-year experiment at this point, just about.
Yeah, and it's not going well.
Oh, you can still get none of these are even Chrono Trigger. It's unavailable online, so they might have burnt through it and just stopped accepting some of them, and are just like, okay, we're just going to call it a day on some of these.
Well, I mean, this news is only like a day or two old, I think. So, whatever the answer is, I think it's reasonable to make the assumption that after a certain amount of time of this being an issue for GameStop, someone had to say, can we finally do something, please, and stop this?
Sure.
We're obviously not going to have anyone looking at these or checking these. That video of, Tester's Paradise in the middle of,
When you look up GameStop Retro, it's not good videos on YouTube.
Right.
And probably some of them are ours, for sure.
I'm sure they're probably trying to cut their losses here.
Okay. Well, the lesson learned. No harm, no foul, except for the people that got counterfeit games, right? And people that made money off of trading in like counterfeit games. Let's see. I put in GameStop Retro on YouTube. What do I see on YouTube? Let's see. What's the first 3 videos? That's the thing. GameStop Retro. First 3 videos are stop buying retro games from GameStop. GameStop screws up my retro game order. Huge $600 GameStop retro games order. Does GameStop still sell fake retro games? There's our Inside GameStop's retro game restoration, which that didn't go well, that video for them. That has 100,000 views.
Oh, yeah.
Don't order retro games online from GameStop. Inside info about GameStop's retro game trading program. That was from, I think you weren't on the podcast during that one. More. Do not buy from GameStop's retro game sale. GameStop policy of destroying retro games. Insider info. That was me. And so forth.
Yes.
So not the best reputation. So there you have it. Yeah. So they're going to cut their losses, it looks like. And
Good.
Yeah.
I remember when everyone said that this was going to be the death of every independent video game store.
No.